Just waiting for my friends join the live. Hello. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Waiting for a few more people since I just started going live. Fingers crossed that my battery holds out. Should. I need a new phone pretty bad. But I'm not team iPhone, so no matter those of you out there who are not giving in. Alright. Hopefully y'all can see me and hear me. And I'm going to start off with the questions that I got in my IG story today. Some of them were prep related and some were general health and nutrition, which I love, but feel free to add in some comments of other topics you want me to go over. Probably just talk for about 15 to 20 minutes or so, depending on how long my battery lasts. But first and foremost, got a couple questions on macros, briefly touched on in my story. Someone asked if they were taking an omega tablet, if that would allow them to not have to eat chicken. Here's the thing. I am a firm believer that nutrition and health is bio-individual. So, you asking me if you need to take a specific supplement or a specific nutrient for you, I cannot give you context around that because I don't know your health history, don't know what you're doing currently. I don't know if you are on any medications. If you're not a client of mine, I can't help you. So, if you're interested in that, you can reach out to me. I am accepting new clients right now. I also do 1-hour consults if that's something you're interested in. But at the end of the day, I also am a believer that you should not be replacing your whole foods with supplements. The reason for supplements is you're trying to fill gaps in your health and your nutrition that are missing from your current diet and lifestyle. That's why they are called supplements, because they are supplementing what you currently are doing. So, somebody might not need an omega based on their intake. Other people, depending on their hormones, previous health history, it might be extremely beneficial for them. It's all dependent on you, where you're at in your life, what your goals are, etc. Follow-up question. Oh, the sun is getting bright. Follow-up question to that was, should I be eating proteins and fats? What is more important? Well, there are 3 macronutrients, technically 4. All 4, in my opinion, are important to have a healthy, balanced diet. Proteins, carbs, fats, and water. Yes, water. It's a macronutrient. Your body is made up of over 70% of water, so make sure your water intake's up. But if you are trying to enhance your physique, you want to look better, you want to have more muscle, you want to have less body fat, having a balance in your nutrition is extremely important, because if you are not, and you're going to an extreme one way or the other, something is going to go awry. So when you're trying to put on muscle, protein, super important for protein muscle synthesis, helping to fuel our muscles, and is a proponent of the amino acids that are broken down from that protein you eat. That's what fuels and builds muscle. But to go along with that, you need to be eating carbs and or fats to serve as that energy source. So when you work out, that's why we eat a meal within an hour of training, because you need to refuel the glycogen stores that were going to carry you through that workout. Glycogen is what fuels the muscles, gives us that energy. Glycogen is typically derived from carbs. However, in some cases, the fats can serve as a fuel source, which we see commonly in ketogenic diets. I'm not an advocate of any particular diet. Each person has to determine his or her own diet and lifestyle plan. Of course, working with a coach or a registered dietitian or a medical doctor helps with that. So, needless to say, fats are extremely important when it comes to your hormone health. We know this specifically with women who do low-fat diets, myself being one, knowing from personal experience. That's a reason that women can't think when they're 4 weeks out from a show, 2 weeks out from a show, because their fats usually are super low. They're depleted of carbs as well, so they're resorting to protein as their main fuel source. And lo and behold, where are they going to support their hormones or their energy? It's all starting to come from protein as the main source at that point, which is the most common. It's not always the case, but it's the most common, especially for those who are enhanced athletes. So those were the two big questions around the nutrition piece. Had another question from a gal about her current prep, and she wanted to understand how to lose more body fat while being in menopause. So, caveat to this, you should always consult with your coach before someone else. If your coach, you don't feel confident in them, if you aren't able to confide in them about your concerns, that's a problem. Now, I get it if it's a first-time coach that you're working with, or maybe it's a new health issue that's arose for you, and you're not really sure how to go about it. I get it. So you want to get other opinions. But the saying goes, when there's too many cooks in the kitchen, you get a foul meal. I forget the actual phrase. Essentially, if you have too many people trying to manipulate that situation, usually it doesn't turn out very well. So, my recommendation is always work with your coach first. You might just need to have a conversation. Communication is key in any relationship. So, when it comes to female hormones and weight loss, we know that when women are going into menopause, their hormones are starting to decline naturally. When estrogen and progesterone become affected in that way, yes, we can start to see extra fat stores happening. Yes, we can start to see some muscle wasting happening, but that's typically in women who are non-active, who don't follow a wholesome, nutritious diet. In the case of a competition prep, there's going to be many tools in the toolbox when it comes to fat loss, whether they're using different cardio strategies, different carb cycling nutrition strategies, or then you add in the supplement strategies to support the hormones. Because if we are doing something to actively support the hormones, odds are when you're supporting them, you're going to be able to get the metabolism, thyroid, on board to start burning that body fat. So, like I said before, every situation is going to be different, but from a hypothetical, big picture standpoint, that's what you're going to be looking at. And the last question I got, which super important topic that's really close to heart for me, when should a female get her labs done if she's in a competition prep? So, once again, there's a lot of layers to this. Number one, I always ask, when was the last time you had labs drawn? Did you have them done before you started cutting down? Did you get them done in the middle of your prep? If you did, you should have some background and numbers that you're trying to compare to. Another layer to that question: do you have any previous health history issues? Or do you have any previous markers in those labs that were red flags or were off? Because you want to look at those first before you decide to do a prep to begin with, which is something I'll be talking about in my webinar next week. So once you got those two figured out, when was the last time you had a period? Some women have a period all the way through prep up till like the last 4 weeks. Some women lose their cycle when they start prepping in general. And if that's your case, getting your labs run, the timing might not be right because your hormones are going to be lower than they normally would anyways. So that's something to take into consideration. Last but not least, are you on any PEDs? Or have you run PEDs in the past? Because if so, we know that that can skew at certain levels as well. So, general rule of thumb, males, you can run them whenever. We don't have to worry about your hormone cycle. You don't have a menstrual cycle. You're not bleeding. Even if you feel like a big baby during prep, you're not bleeding. So, you can run those. Usually I say during a prep and right after the show or 4 weeks post-show. For a female coming out of a show, if, say you had normal health history, whatever, and you felt fine, maybe you just are wanting to know what your levels are at, I would do average female 8 weeks post-show, luteal phase. If you have not had a cycle, your menstrual period is missing, amenorrhea if it's over 3 months missing, you're going to have to do an estimate because you're not going to know when that luteal phase is. You can kind of gauge it based on the new moon to full moon cycle. It's going to be in the middle of those two, and you're going to want to get it done days 18 to 21 because the luteal phase is the only part of the female menstrual cycle where our progesterone is the most stable. It'll be right before it declines, coming out of ovulation and going into your menstrual cycle, right before it declines. So when you pull those labs, you're going to be able to say, oh, my progesterone is actually low. Or, oh, my estrogen's sky high, my testosterone is low, so I'm estrogen dominant. Stuff like that. But needless to say, every situation is going to be different, and every single person needs to know where their health is at. So we'll open it up to some other questions. Nikki, how is married life to Dynamite? It's funny that you say that because the first time he and I started talking, I called him Dynamite. He's like, don't ever do that again. So David and I have been together 4.5 years and married 1.5. So it's been good. We're in a phase of hustle right now with growing our businesses, working a lot. I'm transitioning from I was in a corporate job into coaching part-time to now I'm coaching full-time and doing a few other side income projects. But married life's good. I mean, the biggest thing people ask is like, what's different from being married versus in a relationship? It shouldn't really change that much. You as a couple should evolve, and as you evolve together, that's something that you're going to continue to work on your marriage. And he and I have a few couples that we kind of resort to as mentors and role models when it comes to our relationship, and that's been super helpful for us because just like anything, you want to be able to learn from someone who has what you want, right? You're not going to go to someone for advice on making money who's broke. Just like you're not going to go to someone on relationship advice who's been through 2 divorces. Kind of the same idea. So I appreciate that. It's fun. It's honestly, some days I just want to smack him across his head, but I love him, and that's what you got to do is you got to find a partner that they have to meet your non-negotiables. So I get asked a lot. They're like, well, you're so lucky, blah, blah, blah. You're just so lucky that you found each other. No, it wasn't luck. It was that we worked on ourselves to know in ourselves what we wanted in a person that we want to spend our life together with. Now, that's not going to be like, I need everything about David, or I absolutely admire everything about David, because there's certain things where I'm like, I literally just like want to shake him. I'm like, why do you do this? why do you think like this? And then I remember, I'm like, okay, I can be understanding and compassionate of him because of this difference that he has from me. And that is what helps make me better as a person then, is learning from our differences. So even though we're both in bodybuilding, it's actually extremely difficult when it comes to the sport because, yeah, we both eat clean, we both train hard, we both coach people, we're both passionate about the hormone gut health piece, but we also have different philosophies on training and on nutrition and on stress management. A lot of differences that we bounce ideas off each other, we learn from each other, and that's kind of where it helps us amplify each other's strengths versus bringing each other down. Now, obviously, it's not all easy, but when it is going well, it makes it really easy to see because we just bring out the best in each other. How am I? That's a great question. I mean, I often plan every once in a while. Yesterday we had Mexican before he flew out to North Americans, but the other day I had a pizza, and to be honest, I don't miss eating normal people food because my body just doesn't respond well to it. So I just thrive when I'm eating clean, eating foods that I prepare myself. Like, I went out today for lunch. It tasted great, but I got home today, I'm like, something's off. And I got a terrible spell of diarrhea, which you guys probably don't want to hear about that. But the more in tune you get with your body and you feel like something's not right, something's off, you're able to recognize that. Like, it makes a huge difference. But my thing's sweets. So, like, I baked cookies the other day. I'm going to post them on my Treats of Quality page. It's so good. Like, 7 grams of protein, I think 15 grams of carbs, 10 fats. But they tasted like unhealthy cookies. So, Tazi asked how I'm doing. Overall, I'm doing great. Right now, I'm taking a little walk because I haven't gotten enough steps in today. And it's finally like less than 85, 90 degree weather. So, life's wonderful. Spending the next few days on myself. Oh, my phone's about to die. Do I have a what I eat and train in a day on my page? Yeah, it's on my YouTube channel. So, Nikki, go to my YouTube. It's Strong Sweet Caroline. I've done a couple during prep. I think I just did one that was a non-prep one when I was a couple weeks post-show. And that's, I like doing them, but I don't like doing them because I don't want women to get the wrong impression about what to eat during prep or what not to eat, and that they need to like starve themselves or be at extremely low calorie. Like right now I have low days of 1850, high days like 2070. So, oh gosh, that does not sound fun. But do your best to recover and heal yourself fast. Make sure you're eating non-inflammatory foods. Usually stuff that's more on a Mediterranean diet can help with that. Getting your spine healthy. Your abs are going to need work too after that. So just reach out if you've got any questions. And that'll be something like, it'll take you a little bit of time to get back to where you were. But once you are back to full steam, you'll be proud of the progress that you were able to overcome. Yes, I am married happily, like we just talked about, for almost a year and a half. But I mean, he actually knew he wanted to marry me before I knew that David wanted to marry me, even though I said I love you first. But that's funny how life goes sometimes. So, yeah, absolutely, girl. Reach out if there's anything else I can help with. I'm actually going to be working on YouTube tonight to hopefully get published tomorrow. So, if you guys have any other questions, let me know. I'll try to be back doing these once a week. My phone is literally at 3%, so I should probably plug that in. But thank you guys, and hope you all have a great rest of your week.